Hey guys, it's Mr. Wigand. Today we're going to look at estimating percents using nice fractions and multiples of 10%. First we'll look at the nice fractions method. Alright, estimate 23% of 180. So I need to find a nice fraction whose percent is close to 23%. So I know that 1/4 is 25%. That's very close to 23%. So I'm going to find 1/4 of 80. So if I want to find 1/4 of 180, I take 180, I divide it by the denominator 4, I get 45. I take that 45 and I multiply it by the numerator 1, and I get 45. So I estimated what 23% of 180 is, and I got 45. I picked a really good, nice fraction because 25% is close to 23%. Somebody might have thought, well, hey, 1/5 is 20%. That's close to 23%. So let's see what happens when I do 1/5. So now we're going to find 1/5 of 180. So I'm going to take 180, divide by the denominator 5, get 36. Take 36, multiply by the numerator 1, and 36 is my estimate. So here's two examples that are pretty good. The first one's a little bit better because 25% is a little bit closer to 23% than 20% is, but both would be really good examples of estimating and getting a percent close to 23%. Alright, why don't you try these? At this point, maybe pause the video, work these out on your own, then come on back and I will show you how to do them. Alright, number one, estimate 58% of 80. Well, 58% is really close to 60%. And 60% would be 3/5 of a nice fraction. The better you know your nice fractions, the easier these problems are going to be. So I want to find 3/5 of 80. So I'll take 80. I divide by the denominator 5. It's 16. Take that 16 and multiply it by the numerator 3. And I get 48. 48 is my estimate. Pretty good estimate. Now here we have 67%. Well, I know that 66 2/3% equals 2/3. So I'm going to use the nice fraction 2/3. 2/3 of 120. So I take 120, divide it by my denominator 3. Notice I'm picking nice enough numbers that I can do all this in my head. I'm estimating. I'm not, doing work with a calculator or doing a lot of multiplying and dividing, with lattice or anything like that. I'm doing what I can do in my head, but I'm writing it down so you can see what my thoughts are. Right, so now I take that 40 and I multiply it by the numerator 2, and I get 80 as my estimate. Right, that's estimating using nice fractions. Next, we're going to look at estimating, but we'll use the multiples of 10% method. Alright, multiples of 10%. The very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out what 10% of 70 is. And we talked about a bunch of different ways to do this. The easiest way, really, I think, is to take the number 70, find the decimal point. There we go. And anytime you're finding 10% of something, you just move the decimal point back one place. So 10% of 70 would be 7.0, or just 7. So 10% of something, move the decimal point to the left one place. Alright, so I found 10%. I need a multiple of 10 now that's close to 42. And that would be 40%. So I'm really going to find 40% of 70 instead of 42. I know that 10% is 7, and I have to multiply 10 by 4 to get 40%. So I'm going to take that 7 and multiply it by 4. If 10% of 70 is 7, 40% of 70, I'll multiply by 4, and I get 28. And that's my estimate, using multiples of 10%. Alright, here's a couple for you to try. Once again, pause the video, try them out, turn it back on, and then see how I go about getting the same answers. Alright, so 18% of 180. I'm going to first find my 10%. 10% of 180. To find 10%, decimal point's right there. Move it back to the left one place, and I get 18.0, or 18. Okay, I now need to find a multiple of 10 that's close to 18. And that, of course, is 20%. So really, I'm going to find 20% of 180. 10% was 18. I multiply 10% by 2 to get 20%. So I'm going to take 18, and I'm going to multiply it by 2 to get 20%. 18 times 2, 36. So estimate 18% of 180, I get 36. Right, estimating 82% of 25. So first thing, I'm finding my 10% of 25. Do the same thing each time. The decimal point's right here. Move it to the left one place, 2.5. Remember, I want 82%, so I need a multiple of 10 close to 82. And that's going to be 80%. So I'm actually finding 80% of 25. 10 times 8 gives me my 80%. So I'm going to take that 2.5, multiply that by 8, and that gives me 20. My estimate is 20. So that's estimating using multiples of 10%. Good luck. The more of these you practice, the better you will get. Make sure that when you're estimating, you know how to use both methods, nice fractions and multiples of 10%. Good luck, guys.